How to avoid losing data no matter what. Hi everyone, Leo Notenboom here for askleo.com. Let's get right to the question that isn't really a question. Quote, I lost a huge amount of research and work when my computer crashed this summer. That's a quote from an email that I got from someone who experienced exactly that. This was someone who, very specifically, I expected better of. They were more knowledgeable about things than, say, the average consumer. The problem, of course, is that it happened. And that should not have happened. It does not need to happen. You can protect yourself. It doesn't need to happen ever. Not to him, not to you, or me. Unfortunately, he is not the only one running the risk of massive data loss. Here's the thing. Imagine your computer gone, just literally gone. It could be stolen, it could be destroyed. The important thing is that everything stored on that computer has disappeared. Is that a problem? If that's a problem, if that's a catastrophe, then you are not protected. And you should be, and you can be. On the other hand, if it's an inconvenience, great. You're probably doing the things that need to be done to keep yourself safe. Now, I often receive pleas from individuals who have experienced some kind of data loss. The one that sticks in my mind is many years ago, I received an email from a graduate student overseas who had basically lost access to what we would now call a Microsoft account. Back then, it was his Hotmail account. The issue was that in that Hotmail account, and only in that Hotmail account, was his master's thesis that he had been working on. And without access to that account, he did not have access to his master's thesis. He was unable to recover it and had to start all over from scratch. In another case, a good friend of mine some years ago contacted me and said, hey, my pictures aren't opening, there's something wrong. To make a very long story short, he had contracted ransomware, and it had gone about encrypting pictures and more on his machine. But he also had not been backing up. So the pictures that had been encrypted were the only copies of those pictures. In this case, the only copies of pictures of his granddaughter. There was no way to recover. Now, you might say that these are extreme examples, and honestly, I'm not going to disagree, but they're common. They're really too common. I hear stories like this from very desperate people in various situations similar to these on a very, very regular basis. It doesn't have to be that extreme to be that painful. It could be a very important document. It could be a picture that you just want to be able to get back to. It's one of those things where, again, it doesn't have to happen. Yeah, stuff happens. I get that. You know that it does. But you don't have to lose data as a result. The reason I'm frustrated, quite honestly, is that it is so easy to prevent data loss. Backups. And yet people are scared away by the details that they don't understand. I totally get that backups feel confusing, that they're poorly documented, that the tools are sometimes hard to use. I don't care. They are that important. Yes, absolutely. I wish that the tools were better. I shouldn't say I don't care, because I do care in the sense that I want the tools to be better. But the fact is, they are what they are. And therefore, it's our responsibility to take control of our data, learn what we need to learn in order to protect ourselves from this kind of stuff. Even if you don't use the tools, what's the most basic level of backup? Making a copy. Making a copy of whatever it is that's important to you and putting it somewhere else. Putting it in the cloud, putting it on an external disk, putting it in a safe, I don't care. But the point is that if something important exists in one and only one place, your computer, it's not backed up, and you risk losing it permanently. So, start making backups. Start making copies. If you do nothing else, please start copying your important files to some other place. Yes, I want you to use a backup program. I understand that there's a learning curve there, but it is so incredibly important to avoid these kinds of stories. Like I said, data loss does not need to happen, but it is our responsibility to take the steps to prevent it. For updates, for comments, for links related to this topic and much more, visit askleo.com/30820. I'm Leo Notenboom. This is askleo.com. Thanks for watching.